my troopers hopping in this bitch, popping in this bitch. Me and my troopers hopping in this bitch, popping in this bitch. Me and my troopers.
Hello. I'm not dead. Wow. So sorry that I haven't uploaded in 2 weeks. It's been a rough 2 weeks for me and my family. For those of you that know, it's been difficult. It's been rough. It's been long, but I'm back now. I'm back to recording videos. So with that being said, here we go. My name is Mr. J3T, aka Big Sexy, aka the Kentucky Cannon, aka the World Class Badass, aka Chocolate Thunder with a Caramel Swirl, aka Black Lightning with a Peanut Butter Filling, aka the Man of the Century, aka I already said Chocolate Thunder with Caramel Swirl, but I'm going to say that again. A.K.A. the Houdini of Sexy. A.K.A. the Shaman of Sexy. A.K.A. the Kentucky Cannon. A.K.A. DJ Big Head, because I'm a DJ by association, if you forgot. A.K.A. the Perfect Specimen. And A.K.A. the World Heavyweight Champion. That's right. I am your World Heavyweight Champion. The real World Heavyweight Champion with the tear in my eye. I am your World Heavyweight Champion. Thank you, Tunes. Tunes is my barber. Thank you, Tunes, for selling me this belt and realizing who the real World's Champion is. And today, we're going to be talking about an anime called Eden Zero. So Eden Zero is about a kid named Shiki, right? As we follow Shiki and his crew as they set off on a journey to find this space goddess called Mother, who will grant any wish of the person who finds her first. So, Eden Zero is created by the same creator who made Fairy Tail, right? And a running joke of the anime community was that Eden Zero is basically just Fairy Tail in space. I went into this show and the manga, because I read a bit of the manga. I came into this thinking with that mindset. I came in thinking that this was just going to be Eden Zero. Not Eden. I came in thinking that this was just going to be Fairy Tail, but in space. But when I actually started watching it and reading it, it's not. It actually has its own story and its own characters. Characters that I really like. But before we get into the characters, let's talk about the animation. So, the animation is really good. Characters move good. The fights are great because, yeah, the animators really go off when it comes to fight scenes in here. It's awesome. There's one fight in particular that I like. It's when Shiki fights this character who's the mother of another character named Homura. And that fight scene's cool, specifically near the end of the fight. It's awesome to see. So it's cool. The fight scenes are cool, and all around the animation's pretty good. I didn't see any chops in animation. I didn't see any of that. It's really good animation with some really good fight scenes to boot. Now, characters. Shiki, originally, I was sort of indifferent towards Shiki, but as I start to follow him more and watch more and more and read more and more, I actually really started to like Shiki as a character. One moment that really made me like him was Shiki and the gang went to a planet, right? And Shiki and another character that I mentioned earlier, Homura, they get captured and basically went to like this prison camp where they have to kill these monsters. Where when they kill these monsters, they send all this gold to Homura's mom, who's running the whole planet, so she gets richer while they have to work there and kill all these monsters to make her richer, right? So the prison guard named Garrett, I believe his name is Garrett, he takes Homura because he likes her face. He's planning to do some nefarious deeds to her. And Shiki goes to stop him, but Garrett's like, hey, if you play that hero shit here, I'm gonna hurt everybody else in this little poverty prison camp we got here, right? So don't play hero. But earlier on in the episode, Shiki bursts in to the place where he took Homura, and Garrett's like, hey, did you forget what I told you? I'm gonna hurt everybody else. And Shiki's like, I don't give a shit. You took my friend, I'm gonna go help her. See, I'm not the type of guy that fights for anybody. I'm the type of guy that fights for my friends. And you got one of my friends here, so I'm gonna fuck you up. That's the gist of what he said, basically. And that moment really made me like him. Because, I just like the fact that he just said, screw everybody else. I'm coming to help my friend. So, when I don't think wrong about him because I said that, he doesn't, it's not like he doesn't care about other people, it's just that he prioritizes the people that he considers friends more than strangers, right? So that moment made me like him a lot. I also like Rebecca too. Rebecca is a cool character. Here's the thing with Rebecca, though, because Rebecca is a beekeeper, and how she met Shiki was that she traveled to a planet filled with robots to film all the robots for her channel to get a whole bunch of views and subscribers, right? So she's basically a YouTuber, and the reason why, and that's how she met Shiki, because he was raised on a planet filled with robots. And I just think it's funny that, like, her main driving force to meeting Mother is because she wants to wish to be the biggest beekeeper in the universe. I just think it's funny that that's one of her motivations to meet Mother and get her wish granted. But she's not just her BeeCube channel, right? She doesn't just care about that. She cares about her friends too. She really grows to care about Shiki and the rest of the crew and consider them close friends. There was one moment where Rebecca's friend Happy gets kidnapped by a bunch of people, right? Rebecca and Shiki go out to stop them, and when they do find and get Happy back, Happy just transforms into a pair of guns, and Rebecca goes ham on everybody, shooting everybody, right? And that was fun to see. That's the moment we also find out that Happy, her friend, who we originally thought was just a talking cat, is actually a talking cat robot. And the way, and when they show how Happy became a robot is actually kind of sad. I won't spoil how Happy became a robot. I'll let you guys experience that for yourselves if you want to, that is. But that whole thing with Happy is pretty sad, and I like their relationship. I like how they both care about each other and help each other. It's cool to see. Since I talked about her earlier, Homura, I think she's like my favorite character on the show because, like, she's just such a badass, right? She's a badass swordswoman, and the whole reason she joins the crew is because she wants to find her mentor Valkyrie, who is a member of the Demon King's 4 Shining Stars. I'll explain what that is later on. but she wants to find her mentor, and she also wants to challenge the Demon King. But since the Demon King, the original Demon King, is dead, Shiki is declared the new Demon King when he becomes the captain of a spaceship called the Eden Zero. So she wants to face off against Shiki in a friendly little battle, right? So that's the reason she joins, and she's just so cool. She's just such a badass. I love her so much. I also love her personality because she has this quirk where she just says whatever's on her mind. Like, she doesn't have a filter, basically. She just says whatever pops into her head, and that makes for some funny moments in the show, and I just can relate to that a lot because sometimes I find myself not having a filter and I just say whatever's in my head to the point where my mom has to reel me in and tell me to shut up before I say something. So I can relate to the not having a filter like that too. And yeah, she's just cool. She's awesome. She's my favorite character in the show. Another favorite character of mine is a little robot named EMP Pino, but Pino for short. You could probably tell by the name that her whole power, her whole gimmick, is that she's an EMP. She cancels out, she shuts down other animatronics, other technology-based things for a little while. And her backstory is really sad. Where we first see her, she's in a really bad way, and the crew has to save her to get her out of that situation because she's basically being used as a weapon by this guy who abuses robots, right? And the crew got to go save her, and you really feel for her in that moment because even though she's a robot, she can cry, and we see her cry, and we see her wanting a better situation for herself, and that really just made me sympathize with her and like her even more because yeah, also she's just adorable. She just has such a adorable design. Yeah, she's just so cute, and I really wanted to punch the guy that was treating her badly because Pino deserves happiness. She deserves to be happy. She doesn't deserve to be tortured. She doesn't deserve to be sad. Like, she deserves the world. She deserves the goddamn world. Do you hear me? I love her. Pretty much almost all of the characters are likable. You like the characters that you're supposed to like, and you hate the characters that you're supposed to hate. But even though you are supposed to hate characters that you're supposed to hate, there's one character in particular that I kind of like. His name is Draken Joe. So Draken Joe is this big-time space pirate villain, right? He's one of the big bads of the show. We see him a little bit in the anime, but in the manga, we see a lot of him in his own arc. And even though Draken Joe does some horrible things to the characters, I'm not going to spoil what he does in the manga, but like, he does some awful shit to the characters, right? You can't help but like him, you know? Or at least I can't help but like him. He just has this charisma. He just has this charisma that just makes you like him, you know? He also has a code. He won't kill people, but he is willing to make exceptions to his own rule, so don't piss him off. Yeah, but even though he's a bad person and he did some really messed up shit to the crew of the Eden Zero, I just can't help but like him. You know, he's just so charismatic, and he comes off as kind of likable despite all of the awful things that he's done. You know, he just comes off as likable. I read, like I said before, I read the manga, so I know how his story and that whole arc begins and ends. And hopefully we get a season 2 of Eden Zero so I can see it animated. I'm not looking forward to experiencing it again, but yeah. So I'm not looking forward to experiencing that whole arc again, but animated and voiced. So it's gonna be rough, but I'll watch it anyway. Uh, Speaking of the Eden Zero, uh, on the Eden Zero, there are these four characters called the Four Shining Stars. Um, the Four Shining Stars were basically like the head generals of the original Demon King called Ziggy. His name was Ziggy. So Ziggy uh, and the Four Shining Stars went off to find Mother first, right? Before Shiki and his gang. But when Ziggy found Shiki as a baby, he decided to let go of his dreams on finding Mother and go back to the robot planet to raise Shiki, right? And he basically told the Four Shining Stars that their mission is done, they can go out and live their lives, basically. So, a good chunk of this show is finding all four of the Four Shining Stars. Luckily for them, they almost immediately find one, because there's a character named Witch, who's basically like controls the whole ship. Not control, she controls most of the ship, right? And she was always in the ship, she was just dormant, but when Shiki got the ship and he sat down on a throne, that's when the ship activated and she reawoken. So she's pretty cool character. Sister, I like Sister a lot. She's a smartass, and another thing that we noticed real quick is that she's a dom. Yeah, she likes to be the on top. You know, she doesn't like being a bottom. She likes to be on top. You know, she likes to be the dominator, and that whole. I just like her a lot too. She's a smartass. She's sarcastic. I can appreciate a smartass and sarcastic person because I'm a smartass and sarcastic person. Just ask my mom; she knows. But yeah, I like her too. Hermit's pretty cool. And Valkyrie is probably the most badass out of all of them. As I said earlier, Valkyrie is Homura's teacher. She taught Homura how to fight and how to use her ether gear, which ether gear is basically like it gives the user these epic powers, right? So Shiki has ether gear, and his ether gear makes him like can basically control his own gravity and control other people's gravity. So like he can make himself as light as a feather, or he can make himself as heavy as a mountain or a planet. He can fly, or the correct term, fall. He can fall anywhere. He can fall to the ceiling. He can fall sideways. His power is pretty cool. His ether gear power is probably the coolest out of all of them. But Homer is a close second. Her ether gear, she can use her ether gear to make swords. Her ether gear is pretty cool too. But as I was saying before, Valkyrie helps teach Homura how to fight and how to use her ether gear. And she's probably the coolest out of all of the Four Shining Stars. Because there's one moment where she's looking for Homura's mother, and she finds Homura's mother, but she's on that working prison planet, right? And Homura's mother basically tricks Valkyrie into taking on her debt. And when Valkyrie finds out about this, she goes after her, but she then sends all of the monsters out to basically get rid of everybody. But Valkyrie, she wasn't going to go down like that. No, she wasn't. She fought all of them. And that was a cool moment. It kind of reminded me That moment kind of reminded me of when Urza fought 100 monsters in Fairy Tale. That moment was just cool to see. It was awesome. And yeah, she's probably the most badass out of all of them. And it's sad when we eventually find out what happens to her. Yeah, why not? Spoilers. She dies in this encounter. And I just want to say the only reason that they killed her off was because she was too badass. She was too much of a badass, right? if Valkyrie was alive and she joined the crew on Eden Zero, every conflict probably would have been over just like that, because she is that much of a badass. Like, it's the same thing that they did with Gilgamesh in the Eternals movie that came out like last year, I believe. It's the same thing that they did with Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh, he was a badass powerhouse, but they ended up killing him off because if he was alive, that conflict in that movie would have been over like that. So they always kill the badass characters because they know that any conflict would have been over if they were on the team. So that whole moment is sad, where Homura finds Valkyrie and she basically tells Valkyrie that, like, she didn't need her real mom because Valkyrie, she was her mom. And that moment was cool. That moment was sweet. And at least my girl Valkyrie went out like a badass. All in all, I really like this show. The characters are great, the animation's great, the fights are great, the story is pretty interesting, the story is engaging, the powers are cool, the ether gear powers and the whole different types of ether gear powers are cool. Yeah, it's a really good show, and what I like about this show is that, unlike most animes that only have like 12 episodes, this anime has 25 episodes, so you got a lot to watch, and they're all out already, so you can binge it. And yeah, I really like this show. I give it 2 thumbs up with a J3T stamp of approval. So it's a really good show. I highly recommend it. I believe it's on Netflix, but I'll leave the link in the description to the website where I watched it on. But yeah, it's a really good show. I like it. I can't really think of too many complaints. I can't really think of too many complaints that I have with this show. I pretty much like almost everything about it right now, and I hope that this show does get a season 2. Also, on a side note, this show helped me get through a passing that happened recently. That's why I was gone for 2 weeks. It was hard, and this show really it took my mind off of everything that was happening, you know? It gave me a few moments that I could just forget about it and just be immersed in the show and the characters and the story. The show helped me out during a rough time, and yeah, this show will always have a place in my heart because of that. So with that being said, I hope you like this video. Give it a thumbs up. But if you really like me, and I'm saying like really, really like me, consider subscribing and ring that bell so you always know whenever I upload, because it's free. God damn it. God, I keep telling y'all that it's free, and y'all won't listen. God. Don't be a dum-dum. Subscribe today. Deuces.